Hey everyone, today I'm looking at Senua's Sacrifice, Hellblade 2, Senua's Saga. Man, I really don't know how to feel about this game. It's really not great. It's honestly kind of boring and not very fun, and it's very strange because I know Microsoft bought this as an exclusive, and there's going to be this big thing that they were going to do. And I guess everything AAA, everything corporate that they touch just turns to garbage. The game itself isn't, I guess, terrible. It's not necessarily bad in any particular way, except that it's just very tedious and very repetitive and extremely boring. So in this one, Senua has basically become more of a hardened warrior, and now she's gone into the north where the Vikings came from that killed Dillion, and so now she's kind of looking for revenge. And the plot that kind of unveils itself here in the story is that the only reason they were invading south is because they were being hunted themselves by these mythological giants. And so now we get more into kind of Norse mythology and all these other kind of aspects. I'll just be straight off the bat though. The biggest problem with this game is like half the game's content involves Senua like walking in a straight line while listening to other characters talk or talking to herself, and it is incredibly boring. There is still combat in this game, but it is so rare, so fleeting, and it just very rarely just happens. And it is difficult when it happens, which honestly isn't fun. It feels a lot more difficult than the first game. Maybe that's because I didn't know that I could block. Maybe that's another thing. I mean, I've always said this. I'm very much in favor of games that don't have very long and in-depth tutorials. I like just let the player figure out what they can do for themselves, which was fine. But I literally had forgotten the Hellblade controls by the time this game came out. It's been like 7 years, and when it did come out, I totally actually forgot you can block by using R1. So I was just dodging everything, thinking that was the only way to do things, because there is no tutorial. It does not tell you any button improds at all. So I think that was the one time where I'd have to eat my own words and say, yeah, it actually would have been good to know that R1 could block, because she changes her stance, but it's not obvious that she's blocking. But aside from that, everything was very straightforward. You light attack, heavy attack, dodge, slow motion, all that good stuff. But yeah, again, that's a very small part of this game, and even the puzzle solving is very kind of dumbed down. Like there's this one section where you'll have to you have to do the find the symbols kind of mini game, and then there's this other aspect where they added where you focus in on this bubble, and it'll change the environment into two different forms, so that you have a slope and you can get to this area, and then you can like do it again so you can get to the next area and swap between these two kind of environments. But that is like a minuscule part of the game. All of it is literally like walking and moving and listening to characters and dialogue. And like, I know people make fun of God of War and they call it a movie game because in that context, like they do the opening cutscene where it's like you're Kratos and you're just walking and talking to your son, but that is literally like the beginning and opening of the game, the cinematic portion where it's giving you this moment, and it's a joke to say that that's the whole game. But in Senua's Saga, that literally almost is the whole game. It is a walking simulator. It is ridiculous. And it's even funnier that in the game itself, in cutscenes and in combat and in gameplay, you have these two giant, like, widescreen, like, cinematic movie bars that you see on a big movie. And to me, it's so ridiculous just how much walking and cutscenes and it's not even interesting dialogue to boot. And even the schizo kind of like, voices aren't even that good. I felt like it would have been a huge improvement if like, the voices are like, oh, look at the blood red stains, blood like the red of the Viking shields and the Viking, flags, like blood, something like that. But they're just like, oh, she's found her way. Now she needs to find her way over there. Now she needs to do this. Oh, will she be able to defeat the giants? Like a very, very basic, super basic like dialogue that's not interesting at all. Another big change to this game is that there are other characters in it. So Senua will come across actually 3 different characters. A Viking slaver that initially captures her, that she kind of defeats and turns into her little slave and servant for the first part. Then you have one of the sort of elders or kings that she befriends, who is asking her to help defeat the giants. And then you finally have this other female warrior that you come across, and she is like, okay, you have to come and help our village and all this stuff. And so as you go through, you'll get more characters in your little party, more or less, but they never really show up and do anything really. And also on top of that, they're just not super interesting characters, and they're not given enough time to develop. And on that other point too, like, this game is only like 5, maybe 6 hours. Like, it's very, very short. And I found a lot of the time when I was quote unquote playing this game, I was just holding forward on the analog stick while like checking my phone. Like, it really was an extremely boring game despite everything going on. There were some really cool effects and some kind of nifty puzzles, and how they make the world change around Senua's vision, and how I did like the transition parts where in order to go to the next level, it would show the landscape and the sky and the land changing time, and fast forward and like a time lapse thing. But then you just get another, like, one flat landscape to another flat landscape, and you just know you're gonna have to walk for like 5 to 10 minutes while listening to dialogue that is just, oh wow, they're evil, they've killed him, how will we stop them, do you have the confidence? It's so like basic and uninteresting. And I guess on that too, the final kind of conclusion to this game is also extremely disappointing, because despite it being a short 6-hour game, it ends on a freaking cliffhanger. Like, it kind of implies that you defeated the last giant, but they never actually show it. It's like they're building up to this final thing where Senua is like, oh, all these lives I've touched, all these people I've saved, they're gonna come in and help me, like some kind of anime JRPG moment where everyone's prayers and wishes and the power of friendship comes and saves the day. But it just kind of ends there, and it implies that she won. Like, it's really, really weird and disappointing, and I don't understand why this game is shorter and less fun and just less good overall than its like previous one, because even after being bought out by Microsoft and giving more funding, it's just super weird. I mean, there's nothing in this game that screams to me that it's ruined anything of the Hellblade formula, but it's very much imbalanced the formula to just a cinematic like game. And I even struggle calling this a game, because it's so much of it is just walking around. It is just walking through Scandinavia having light psychosis. It's not interesting. It's not fun. And it's honestly, it's ridiculous that most of this game is it's just walking. And I wish that was an exaggeration, but it's really not. Yeah, I don't know. This is a really fallen off the wagon for the quality of games. I mean, the game does look very nice. It does look very beautiful, but as someone poetically once said, you don't buy video games to put them on your wall and look at them. You put them on your computer so you can play them, or your console or whatever. Again, this game doesn't do anything necessarily bad. It's not like there's broken combat or broken puzzles or, whatever. It's just very boring. It's AAA slop, and it's amazing how everything Microsoft touches, it can do that to. Again, I don't know. I don't want to blame anyone or Microsoft or whoever, but This feels like a very undercooked game, and even half of a game, if that. The whole Giants thing also felt very rushed, because once she found out their name, like, there wasn't even a huge battle or anything. She kind of just immediately went to the Giants and through this little like cinematic thing, and then they were just defeated. So I know it's this total misunderstanding between the cinema world and the game world, whereas cinematics is confirmed, you know, you show your story and you tell your story, but in games you have to do the story. So when, you know, the final battles were not at the point of, you know, the Giants, which is supposed to be the big thematic event, I felt this weird ludo dissonance. And I know that's like a silly, you know, like meme word, but I really felt that, because it's like, oh, we defeated a giant, and me as the player, all I had to do was basically walk in a straight line. And it's like, okay, you know, I know you're doing this cool narrative thing, but I also need the gameplay to feel like I actually defeated a giant, rather than just you telling me that. Yeah. Anyway, there's really not much else to say about this game. If you have Xbox Game Pass or whatever and you played the original, I guess you're gonna play this, but yeah, I can't really say it's anything amazing or exciting. I can't even recommend it. And honestly, I was actually super concerned about this game initially, because I thought, oh, what if it doesn't have a physical release, because everything's going digital now, and now I don't even care about owning this physically. So even to the classic Hellblade people who play the first one, you're not missing anything if you don't play this one. I really hate to say that, but yeah, there's really nothing here that's amazing or revolutionary or even feels like the original Hellblade. So even to those people, I can't even recommend this game. So I think that tells you a lot about it. I'm sure a lot of people will like pick it up and try it, but I go ahead. But really, it's a very nothing game. It's a very kind of like wet towel. It's not interesting. It's not entertaining. It has the right idea, but it feels like a step backward, you know? Anyway, guys, with all that being said, I will go and leave this game to you. All right, bye.